there's a lot of clashes underway outside the hotel. It seems that, as much of Tripoli has been taken over by the rebels, there are still some pockets that remain in the control of the Gaddafi loyalists. And it seems that we're well and truly in the middle of one of those areas that's still controlled by the government of Colonel Gaddafi. The hotel we're staying in has been virtually abandoned. It's in darkness. The electricity's gone off in the hotel. The generators have run out of fuel. And so communications have become very difficult. There's still some armed Gaddafi supporters in the hotel lobby. Around the perimeter of the hotel, there are Gaddafi loyalists as well. And so we still feel very much under the control of these Gaddafi supporters, these members of the government of Colonel Gaddafi. Even as much of Tripoli falls into rebel hands, I can tell you there's been fierce gun battles over the course of the last several hours outside the hotel, on the perimeter of the hotel, near the compound of Colonel Gaddafi, which is a short distance from here. It's all in this area. So while there are pockets of rebel control, perhaps the majority control of Tripoli elsewhere in the city, again, this is one pocket which remains firmly in the hands of the Gaddafi loyalists, and there are fierce battles underway between them and the rebels to try and wrestle control of it, Hala.
And it's a high-profile target. It's the Rixos Hotel. We've seen it, mentioned it on air for more than 5 months now. I imagine you in the hotel there are expecting any minute either a fight to get very close to you or one of these two sides to take control of this hotel, Matthew.
Yeah, I think it does have a certain symbolic value to both the government and the rebels. Perhaps that's one of the reasons why there are such ferocious battles underway right now outside the hotel and in areas close to it for control of the area. Perhaps that's one of the reasons why the government have posted their security forces in some numbers around the perimeter of the hotel, in the area in general, because they want to hold on to this kind of symbolic target in the middle of this area, which also contains other symbolic buildings like the compound of Colonel Gaddafi, even though that compound has been heavily bombed over the course of the past several months. But yeah, it is quite disturbing. It's a very, as I mentioned before, very precarious situation that we found ourselves in. It's got slightly worse because of the electricity going down. Food's running very short as well, and water. And so, I think we've got enough supplies for a few days, but after that, things are going to get, pretty difficult for the few dozen journalists that have still continued to congregate in this hotel. We're not being permitted, Hal, I have to say, by the security forces downstairs, by the Gaddafi loyalists. We're not being permitted to go outside of the hotel or to leave it, so we have to stay here. They're not allowing us to go outside.
So is the firefight ongoing outside of the hotel right now?
It is ongoing, and it's not just a firefight. We're talking about heavy explosions, artillery shells, rocket-propelled grenades exploding, heavy machine gun fire. This is not just, a little rat-a-tat-tat. It's a huge all-out battle for control of this area. And, it's occasionally we're getting, stray bullets that are coming, into the hotel. We're having to stay away from the windows. We're sort of congregating in the central sort of upper lobby areas, because it's just become so dangerous being here. So many of us are all sitting here in the dark because there are no lights, in the very hot heat because there's no air conditioning, kind of staying away from the windows in case we get struck by a stray bullet. And so it's a pretty disturbing experience.